President Kenneth Kaunda was born at Lubwa in the then Northern Rhodesia. The youngest of 8 children of a Church of Scotland minister, Kaunda was a teacher by training, like his parents before him. He was at the forefront of the struggle for independence, first joining the Northern Rhodesian African National Congress in 1951. 8 years later, he broke away from that party and founded the Zambian African National Congress, which was banned and resurfaced as the United National Independence Party, UNIP. Kaunda became president of that party. In a landslide victory, he became Zambia's first president at independence from Britain in 1964. He ruled the country for 27 years.
That's a nine. This is like my team here. Yes. Let me just come here.
Kaunda was all his life a Pan-Africanist, an opponent of the apartheid government and Ian Smith's white minority rule in southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe.
Many famous figures have visited this country during the last 2 years. But none who is so close to our hearts as KKE. This is the man who has hosted our organization and our Congress during the most difficult years in our struggle.
KK, as he was known, has had his fair share of critics. He called for multi-party elections in 1991, in which the opposition leader, Frederick Chiloba of the Movement of Multi-Party Democracy, won elections. Kaunda attempted a political comeback in 1996, but was barred on constitutional grounds.
Tiende pamozi limuti maumo, tiende pamozi limuti maumo. Africa tiye, joloke limpopo limuti maumo. 2 wrongs can never make it right. Discuss with the leaders, white leaders in South Africa, the problem of land. Discuss with them, let them know what's taking place, what is taking place elsewhere in other countries. Let them know that the situation here is very serious. But they should remember, as we should remember, we black people of South Africa, 2 wrongs never make it right anywhere on earth.
In his later years, the elderly statesman dedicated his time to charity work, particularly the fight against HIV and AIDS, a disease that he publicly announced had taken one of his sons.
Sons of Africa, rise and fight. In the name of great Africa, we shall fight and conquer AIDS. Girls of Africa, rise and fight. Girls of Africa, rise and fight. In the name of great Africa, we shall fight and conquer AIDS. Forward ever, backwards never. In the name of great Africa, we shall
Sophie Mokoena, SABC News.
We shall fight and conquer it. We shall fight and conquer it. In the name of great Africa.
All right, now for more, we are joined by our international news editor, Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. A terrible loss indeed, not only for Zambia, but for Africa as a continent. Talk to me first about the very latest developments and also the legacy that he leaves behind.
Well, of course, former President KK Kaunda is no more. He was a friend to South Africa, particularly all the liberation organizations. And you know that he was a very close friend of former President Nelson Mandela and also O.R. Tambo. You know that ANC had offices in Lusaka, and it is during that time where he strengthened the relations between his party and the ANC in particular, fighting side by side with the Liberation Organization as part of the frontline states. You know very well again that in his twilight years, he was involved in charity work, but also, a campaigner, against the HIV and AIDS, because he had first-hand experience of this disease or the virus when his son passed on. The same as what happened to former President Nelson Mandela. But he was a real Pan-Africanist, and he was known on the continent. You know that he was part of the founding fathers of the Organization of African Unity, among them President Julius Nyerere, Haile Selassie, Kwame Nkrumah, and of course O.R. Tambo and the others. So he was really a fountain of knowledge on issues of liberation on the continent.
And I mean, Sophie, I'm looking at just some of the tributes that are pouring in this afternoon. He was greatly loved. I mean, he ruled for 27 years, and when it was time to relinquish power, he did. He ceded power in 1991. Perhaps talk to us about, that transition where he took over from British rule to when he took Zambia forward. I mean, I'm listening also to that song in the clip that we've just played on. He always maintained forward always and backwards never.
Yes, indeed. You know that he governed Zambia for quite a long time, but later years he had to leave office after he was defeated at the polls by an opposition leader because of the economic challenges the country was facing. But that didn't make him an enemy to either the opposition or the people that he worked with. He was loved by both the ruling party at that time, and also even recently he had a very good relationship with the government of Zambia. But leaders and political parties generally in the SADC region, and you talk about South Africa, I mean, he was like our grandfather even here in South Africa. When he was still fine, he used to visit South Africa a lot, and all the time when he was in the country, all of us as media would we made a point that you get interview with him. He was a very warm person, a real leader, but I think we shouldn't forget the role he played in ensuring that the continent is liberated. Many countries are liberated. Him and Julius Nyerere, Haile Selassie, Kwame Nkrumah, I think they are that kind of a crop of leaders. Today in South Africa, for example, when you talk about the Rivonia trialists, that group of the Rivonia trialists, at the continental level, you had this group. All the time when you talk about the liberation of the African continent, you cannot leave out the contribution of the late former President Kenneth Kaunda, affectionately known as KK Kaunda.
Sophie, thank you so much for your time and for obviously giving us that analysis and just the life that he was. That is obviously Sophie Mokoena just giving us an update on that breaking news story. The Zambia's founding father and former President Kenneth Kaunda has died, a life well lived at the age of 97 years old. Well, Sophie is following the story and will continue to give us the latest information around any of those plans that will be made, obviously, by Zambia and other world leaders that will obviously be paying their tributes to this untimely death.